We shall go on where we left off yesterday. Shall we go on where we left, more or less left yesterday? I was wondering how to sustain a continuous seriousness. Would that, I think we'll come to, if we could go into that a little bit and come back to what we're talking about. Is it the intellect is not serious at all? A fragment of our life, which is already fragmented, seems to take supremacy over other fragments. The one fragment is this intellectual struggle, intellectual assertions, theories, formulas, what should happen, what should not happen, you know, the whole intellectual drama. And is the intellect really serious? Serious in the sense a sustained total comprehension which has nothing to do with formula, with theory and belief. Can the intellect, a fragment, be ever serious? Serious in the sense a continuous drive, a continuous sustained observation without any distortion. And most of us are intellectually trained in a society that demands the intellectual output rather than a total output of the human being. I don't know if I'm conveying anything. Could we go into that a little bit? Why has this happened? Why has a part of me has become so supreme, dictating how the body should behave, what it should eat, drink, smoke, sex, dictating everything, and dictating the morality, the virtue, the social behavior, and the private behavior at home, and so on. It is apparently, technologically and psychologically, it has become supreme. Why? Why has one part of this whole structure, which is the me, why has that become important?
seems to me that part of the reason is that we don't know how to use it properly. We don't understand what it's good for, how it works.
In the society of scarcity, wasn't it necessary to have the intellect for the intellectual development, so the technical development, so we could produce the goods? And now that we have the goods, we don't need it. Well, we're doing something that was necessary.
Are you saying, sir, the technological development, which is the intellectual activity, has dominated the whole existence of man?
It was necessary because there wasn't enough to go around.
Is that the reason?
Well, we thought that.
We thought.
Is that so?
Like that's part of control. It's part of our whole culture wants to control nature using the intellect for that, and each of us tries to control ourselves using the intellect for that.
So, what in yourself, if I may come back to oneself, why has intellect taken such extraordinary importance in one's life?
Isn't it that
Leave society, culture, morale, all that out. Why has it taken in one's life such vital import?
Isn't it that same demand for security we were talking about yesterday?
So we think our ideas are something that don't change.
Look into yourself, sir, look into yourself. Why have you given why has it taken such importance in my life, in your life? It hasn't in me, but I'm just asking, why has it?
The whole training was that. Courage.
If it wasn't trained, wouldn't you do exactly the same thing?
I was living in the country, I didn't think I would have.
Wait, sir. Don't be so clear about it. I'm not at all sure you wouldn't.
Living on the farm, milking the cows, doing the work in the day.
Are you? No. Even then there would be always, my cow is better than the other cow.
That's comparison then.
Comparison. Why? Push it, sir. Push it down and find out why. Why do you do this? You understand, sir, what is implied in this? The whole hierarchical outlook of life, on life. The better, the higher, the nobler. The limitation of the verb to be in that which we are caught. If you go into it, you will see why we have given this thing such a diabolic importance.
Because I can see one, it's because the past and the present the past and the future is so important. We've made the past and the future very important. What will happen and what did happen. In a way, that's why we compare. I want, doesn't matter right now if you have a better cow, it's because what the whole image presents, what happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future.
So in order to see what you mean when you say that we live in the intellect, could you perhaps say what else there is to live in?
No.
Because you say we live in the intellect. I think that it may not be clear for us just what that means.
That means, sir, it's fairly simple. The future, the ideal, the formula, the belief, the whole structure of what should be the utopia, the ideal, the perfect state, the perfect God, the perfect disciple, the perfect master, the perfect, you follow?
The control you were talking about.
Yes.
Me.
Which is that we're living for something.
Don't see what is happening, sir, and from that you will find out.
Your question of why, I've seen a lot of children. I said I have seen, experience with a lot of children. And children almost always compare themselves with others. They say, my muscle is bigger than yours, my father is stronger than yours. It seems to me it's a part of, that everybody grows up with that, universal. And we have to then, through understanding, work it out. I don't see how we can avoid it in the beginning.
Dr. Weininger, you live, if I may be a little bit, not being personal, but
Yeah.
you live in the intellect, don't you?
Yes.
Why?
In this way, in what way? In this,
Ideation.
not so much.
No, not so much, not at all. You can't have little and not so much. But let us see.
Yes.
You do live
Say
in,
yes.
we do live in. Why?
Because there's seeming security.
The why? We really don't know why. I think.
Don't you?
I don't think so.
We'll find out, we'll find out.
It seems like a lot of it is to be in touch with other people, to communicate.
But we are not at all in touch with other people.
That's the opposite.
Quite the opposite effect. It is an isolating process. I've isolated myself, my image, my formula, my God, my this, and over that I look at somebody else. But still there is the wall.
When we answer why, it seems every time we say something, we're guessing in a way. We're saying if what we say actually meets with our own experience. It doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere.
Let's watch it, sir. Let's look, go a little bit, sir. You're too verbal, if I may say so. Go slow. That means we are living in the future, aren't we? The ideal, the formula, what should be, the better, is always over there, right? Why do I live that way?
There's certain inner poverty.
I live in the past and in the future, right? I live in my memories, in my imagination, in my hopes, fears. They're always the past, despair, except hope in the future. So living in the past, mustn't it inevitably create a future of idealistic hope? I don't live now, but the past and the future. I don't know what it means to live now. I really don't know. So there is the past and the future. Would that be right, sirs? Past and the future, and let me go on. Why do I live in the past? I know nothing else but the past. And what I want to know about the future is the hope, which is its own hell. Right? So that's all. Why do I live this way?
Yesterday we talked about the fact that there was uncertainty in the present, and that realization.
I didn't say it's uncertain in the present. I want to be certain in the present.
Secure.
Secure.
Well, again, that's security. And there seems to be security in the past because it's something that's known.
So
we cling to that.
we cling to that, and yet I'm living in the future.
Living for the future might be better.
All right, living for the future. What should be? So intellect, the function of the intellect apparently is to live in the past as it has acquired knowledge, add to the past through the present, and that's living, that's intellectually operating, functioning, scientifically, technologically, every way. And the dissatisfaction of the past is the hope of the future. Because mind can't be completely satisfied living in the past. Right? So then what?
Is it because of the element of time?
Well, that is time. After all, living in the past is time. And the future is time. We're asking, aren't we? Why has the intellect become so extraordinarily important?
That includes the emotions, doesn't it? When you say the intellect.
No, it controls the emotions. It says that's good to have good emotions. You follow?
I thought a prejudice is an emotion, a feeling. It's a strong thought.
Strong thought.
Yes. So when
I
you say
don't.
intellect,
I
the intellect
don't.
is distinct from the emotions.
I don't like him.
Yes, that's right. That's also intellect.
And no. It's a look. Is it?
Because he did something, because he's a threat or something.
I don't like him because he has this. It's a conclusion made by the intellect, a thought, and the thought doesn't like that, and so on.
So this feeling.
So we'll come to the feeling presently.
Because when you say intellect, people tend to think perhaps that you're talking about abstract thinking and cerebral
No,
activity.
sir. No.
The intellect which acts in our lives as strong feeling and strong prejudice and drive. And that's emotion.
But the
If I just think that it has no meaning, but when I think with feeling, then it does mischief, then it divides, then it projects into the future.
That is so. Then what?
So when you say intellect, are you saying intellect as distinct from emotion, or are you saying intellect which includes emotion and emotional
Yes,
response?
let's include emotion for the moment. Wait, let's be clear. We'll include emotion into it. Prejudice, like, dislike. Now wait a minute.
It's part of the same thing.
Why is this happening all the time in us?
Sir, as
the mind biologically must have security, as you mentioned. Is it possible that in a similar fashion the organism is striving for perfection psychically, reaching from its weak situation immediately into something that...
But that perfection is always in the future. Striving always come to achieve the goal which it has invented.
Could we say we're striving for security?
And how about pleasure?
Huh?
It seems related to pleasure, I think.
Loving
Partly.
security.
Is one aware that the intellect, in which is included all this business, that it predominates our life?
Yes.
Then why?
Is it not a search for
Beg pardon?
Is it not a search for significance?
Significance to life that has no meaning. Huh? A life of striving, all the rest of it, and therefore in that there is no meaning. Therefore, intellect tries to give a significance or a meaning to it, to live differently. This is a dull stuff, life is, and I'll invent a meaning to it which will make it interesting. That's all.
And I strive some more.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to restate that differently. You mentioned how the mind must have security. It is actually...
Not I mentioned, so it is, I mean, you can... Yeah.
It's a new statement for us. Is it... And we know that the body will compensate. If you lose one kidney, the other one will grow to twice the
Right,
size.
and take care.
Yes, this compensation. Is it possible that there is this psychic built-in aim for compensation in that sense, but we find the wrong ways to do it as we do with the mind seeking security?
So, seeking security and being secure are two different things, aren't they? No. We are seeking security. And we said, seeking security does, creates this mischief.
That is the insecurity.
That
Seeking
gives,
security
is insecurity. Whereas to be completely secure is finished. It's not that I am seeking security and therefore finding it and clinging to it.
I don't mean that. The mind must have it, as was mentioned. Must have it. And only if there is something comparable, psychically, because the infant, we at the very beginning are so helpless, so impotent, so I'm just wondering if there isn't a counterpart to this this perfection aspect as is for the security aspect, but we take the wrong path.
I understand that, sir. Yes, I understand.
Achieve it.
The biologists say that thought developed in evolution based on fear. Fear was the basis for evolutionary development of thought.
Fear is itself a thought. So you're asking, sir, why one lives in the intellect?
Yes, why doesn't it?
And why there is this perpetual struggle and
You haven't answered me.
But isn't that question itself that it posed a creation of the intellect?
Yes. But I'm saying that's only to verbalize a fact that we do live in it. But the thing one has to find out, why has this become so colossally important?
Well, what it seems like we're doing, what I'm doing, is that I'm looking at that question with the intellect, and as long as we look at it with the intellect, and we're trying to verbalize it, trying to do all this, it's the wrong way all the time. We're giving evaluations and analysis of the question and our experience, but we're still caught in it. No matter what we're doing here, we're still caught in it.
Then, sir, let's look at it down the other way. What is living? There is the body, the whole organism with all its complex demands, the gland, all that, both biological and psychological, the imposition of the psyche on the body, wishing it should be this, it should act this way, and all the emotional nature in which is included pleasure, enjoyment, the joy of the delight of looking at some, and so on, so on. There is love, and there is the intellect. Intellect which reasons, looks, observes, says this right, this wrong, evaluates and says it should be done, all that. Why doesn't all the three, the organism, love, all work together? Why this one? Why doesn't the whole thing work harmoniously? You know, like good machines that are ticking over. It cannot be harmonious as long as one is large or enormous, or one is important than the others. I wonder if the intellect has assumed supremacy because it has conceived security in terms of the past or the future. And therefore no security in the present at all. You following what? He says, I've had food today, I must have food this evening. So it struggles to have food this evening. And tomorrow, I must have my pleasure, my sex, all tomorrow. So go on, so let's work it out. Or is living in the past in which there has been security, and that desire to have permanent security in the future, as I want tomorrow food, has built this idea, has made the intellect enormously important. Therefore it dominates love, it dominates the organism, it dominates everything. And how does it come about that the three, psychosomatic and plus, live harmoniously, completely, you follow? Not one against the other, battling. How do you do this? How do you bring this about? You see, we live, I'm getting somewhere. We live in a center created by the intellect, right? Center of ideas, self-centered movement, which is still the intellect. The center which is self-perpetuating, self-centered activity, that's the center we live in. And that center must break up, as it does, as we see it operating in ourselves. That center is breaking it up all the time. I must live differently, I must be different. You follow? It should not be, this should be. Now, how to break down that center and live in the whole, not in a part? I don't know if I'm making myself.
Your first question interested me very much. How do you sustain the seriousness? Because most of us here are living in the present right now with you. And then when we leave, the environment seduces us in another direction. And the sustained seriousness that we have here doesn't sustain.
Or just this instant. I can see my interest fall and go into other things, and the question drops.
So, could we put the whole question differently? How does it happen that one can live harmoniously? So that one or the other is not overdeveloped, one or the other is not in conflict, but function, live, act as a whole, sane, holy thing.
I see it as something like building up your muscles. You said,
no, that means time. I have no time. I'll be dead tomorrow.
No, but what I'm saying is, I see that you're saying overdeveloped.
No, sir. No. Look, sir, we said the intellect dominates. Subjugating the affection, physical organ, and so on. I'm asking myself, how does it happen that one can be completely harmonious. Not an idea of harmony which is in the future, but harmonious now. Because from then I can create. You follow, I can write, everything will come right.
We have to quiet this giant muscle, which is the intellect. I think you're talking about.
This is what I'm saying. I'm
Work
saying
on
we're
this muscle
developing it all the
so
time.
big.
We have to stop. We have to stop.
No, we have to stop means resistance.
Who's going to stop?
We have we have to dominate it, we have to put it down. All that is again, you're off.
I see one can't do that because that's building it up too.
No, I don't, that's not my question anymore. My question is now, how can this harmony take place? Knowing the other thing is overdeveloped. Which means a life in which there is no conflict at all. Or conflict, violence, all the rest of it. So how does this happen? Has it anything to do with awareness?
Sir, do you believe that it has to do with that we are not being aware?
No, I'm asking, sir, where this harmony, because we live in disharmony. To come upon this harmony, I'm asking myself if awareness is the key to it.
Awareness of the disharmony.
Huh?
You mean awareness of the disharmony?
No, forget. You see, you're all translating immediately to something else. Awareness of disharmony in order to be harmonious. I don't mean that. I'm asking if awareness is the key that brings about naturally harmony.
Sir, is awareness an intellectual process?
Awareness of what, sir? Because
No,
the businessman who's terribly
I'm
sharp
going-
and cunning is in his way tremendously aware.
No, sir.
He's aware of the slightest advantage.
Isn't it right?
I want to find out. I'm asking you first a question, sir, whether awareness is the key to this. I don't know what awareness is yet. We are going to find out. We're going to explore it. So far one has explored the reason of disorder and disharmony, this supremacy of one or the other, the supremacy of the soma, the body, or the supremacy of the intellect, emotion or the intellect, or the appetite against the intellect, and so on, so on, so on. The battle. And I say to myself, has awareness, you get it? Is the awareness that will bring harmony, that will make everything equal.
The function which contains all that and is beyond it.
Yeah. I just want to inquire into it.
So that was my question. Was related to that. Is an awareness of that nature, of that type? And you say it is not an intellectual process. Then what is being aware?
We're going to find out, sir. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what it means to be aware. Because if the intellect says, I will calm down, it's a hypocritical thing. I mean, I will just hold myself in, ready to burst at any moment.
Also, that's a calculation.
And so, you follow? And if the body says, all right, then I have a chance now. You follow? Now I can let off the emotions. So, can we... So what does awareness mean? Why is awareness important in this? You follow, sir? Here I have a problem. I live in disharmony, in disorder. Either the body becomes extraordinarily demanding, vital, and you follow? With its lusts, with its appetites, with its... or the intellect, or the emotions, sentimentality of, And I see that, and I say, now, what is the element that will bring all this into perfect rhythm? So the body is perfect, healthy. So the emotions are they are real emotions, not invented by the intellect. And reason. Sane, healthy. I mean, whole implies, I don't know if you've looked at that word, whole means whole, in which is implied health, sanity. And also whole implies H-O-L-Y, holy. All that is in that word. Which means the whole thing is whole, sane. Now, what is the thing that will bring this about? Not effort. Because effort means intellect says, by Joe, I see that's the way to live, and I'm going to after it. I'm going to train the body, I'm going to train it's gone.
If you say that is the way to live, so I'm going after it, then you haven't really seen it.
No, of course not, of course not. So what is the thing that will make it whole? In which there must be not the slightest whisper of effort. Not the slightest directive. Right, sir? Because the moment the intellect takes charge. So the mind must be free of the directive, sense of effort, now how does this happen? Shall I go on, sir? Huh? Must this thing come from outside, or must it begin from the inside out? I don't know if I'm using non-technological words, but so we'll tackle what does awareness mean? Because I think that is the key. I think I may change it, you follow, sir? Because we are exploring together. Therefore, you may find something different. We are together in this. What does it mean? I see this. I see through observation, therefore through experiment, testing, observing the fact, the event, and learning about it, and not make from that, not acquiring knowledge, but merely learning. Because knowledge, when it becomes knowledge, it becomes the intellect, and then it'll guide it. I don't know if you... Can we go on from there?
Could you repeat that again?
What did I say?
When you act from knowledge, then it is again the intellect which is guiding. But learning is not to act from knowledge, it's a state of being in which knowledge is not acting.
I see, one observes the fact, the intellect dominates, the other two play a second fiddle. Now, harmony means functioning together as a whole, not as fragments. Now, the mind sees this, sees how it is broken up. Right? How does it see it? Is the seeing a word?
Or accumulated knowledge?
Wait, no, a word. That is, I must see this thing. Or do I, by the very fact of this dialogue, it is exposed. And I see it as I see it in a map. The three operating in contradiction with each other, one dominates, and so on. Now, how do I see it?
Awareness may be spontaneity?
Not dangerous words, if I may say so, because to be spontaneous implies freedom. And a mind that is, intellect that's dominating is not free. So I'm just, how do I see this? How does the mind see this thing? See this fragmentation. One fragment supremely important, the rest are minor. How does, when we use see, how do you see it, sir? You see these three fragments, one little taller than the rest. And when you say, I understand that, what do you mean by that? Is it a verbal understanding? Or is it an observation of what actually is, without any distortion? Saying, this must not be, this should be. I don't know if I'm, how do you look at it?
Does that seeing allow for a certain verbal action too? Did we ruin it the moment we ascribe any word to it?
No, I may use words afterwards. Yeah, but
the seeing is before
the word. That's right. Before the word, obviously. Otherwise, the seeing is the word.
But don't we perhaps immediately?
Yes, that's what I was warning too. Is it a verbal seeing or actual seeing?
How can you see it if your mind is always condemning it? Condemning your sensors after interfering, and you can't see it.
Yes, doctor, but look, sir, this is a fact, isn't it? The fact that one is these three.
Yes,
that's a fact. Now, how do you look at that fact?
I'm saying you can't look at it without because you got something.
No. I'm not interested in your condemnation, judgment, evaluation, and justification. Then you don't see.
Yeah.
Now, so put aside all that and look. Then how do you see it? If you put that out, if you put justification, condemnation, all the rest of it, aren't you looking harmoniously? And then, no sir. Do go slow. Are you looking through the intellect, which justifies, condemns, says this is right, society has produced this, etc., which is all the act of the intellect. And when you put aside justification, condemnation and all that, how do you look at it?
You're looking attentively as a whole.
Do you? And don't theorize about it. Then we play tricks. Can you look at this table, sir, without being caught in the description? Because the description is not the table, right? Can you look at it without the word? Saying it's a marble, I like it, I don't like it, strange painting, and all the rest of it, go through it. How ugly, how beautiful, how, etc. Just to observe.
And even observe without looking at a table.
No. How can I observe without looking? Then you are looking at the idea of a table. Can you look that way? And when you do look that way, don't you see the whole of it, not just what you think it should be? So can the mind look at the three fragments without the word, and therefore justification or adjustment and so on? Without all that, can the mind look at this fact? You want 5 minutes rest.
5 minutes left.
I see.
It has to become quiet.
Does it sound quiet? What does that mean?
I can't see this table. Thoughts keep coming.
No, sir. Look, sir, do look at it. It's very interesting. Do look at it. If you really want to look at that table, is there any thought? Huh? When you are inattentive, all the things happen. Therefore, awareness and attention is the factor of harmony. I don't know if you're... If I don't look, if the mind doesn't look, if the mind looks with any distortion, which is to of effort, judgment, etc., etc., then the observation is distorted, disharmonious, not harmonious. Now, to look at it with harmony is to look at these fragments without any distortion, prejudice, want, must not, all the rest of it. And doesn't that itself create silence? And not the mind must become silent, but that itself.
Looking is a silence.
If I want to look at that tree or that sunset or those lovely hills, I look. And that very look wipes away everything else.
Are you saying we're not interested in looking?
No. Then you will say, how am I to have the interest? We're caught in a trap there. But to see the fact that we live in disharmony, to see how this disharmony, this disorder has come into being of the intellect and so on, just to see it. And the very seeing of it has its own silence. Because if there is a noise, I can't look at those mountains. The very looking at those mountains is bringing about its own silence. So how do you look? Through the intellect? Do you look at that tree, those hills, or do you look at these fragments, the intellect and so on? How do you look at all those? With chattering? Can we look at this question in another way? You know, control has apparently become extraordinarily important, because they say you must have, the body must be completely controlled. Your mind must be completely held so that it doesn't wander off. And your emotions and everything must be trained. So, meditation implies to sit, make the body sit completely quiet. That's the beginning of it. And to make that body completely quiet, train it by being aware of every movement of the body. Right? I don't know if you've ever gone into all this. Watch your body move, or make the body move, the toe, the ankle, the knee, the hip, and so on. Gradually watch it, watch it. You follow, sir? So out of this watching, the body becomes extraordinarily held. I don't know if, have you ever played with this kind of stuff? So, then in the same way, watch your emotions, watch your thoughts, watch so that it doesn't move away from the directive, from the direction it has been set, which is, I must think of God. I'm using the word God or an ideal or some phrase or something or other. Jesus, the Buddha, what it is. So that there is, your mind is held in that line, in that groove. So the control has been imposed on this. And we have accepted this as the way of leading a very straight, orderly life. That is very disorder. That itself is disorder. I don't know if you see this, because that means, the whole thing is is resistance.
One idea is dominating.
Yeah, I mean the whole. I mean, we are saying, don't do that. That's all wrong. But be aware. Be aware without distortion, without choice, without giving a direction. And that very awareness will make the body quiet. You follow? Not the other way. I don't know if you're...
We do discuss anger from the same point of view. I'd like to hear you talk about anger from this...
Anger.
Anger. From this point of view of awareness, the anger, you get angry.
The anger. No, I don't think you'll ever be angry. And therefore there is no need for suppression. You are ahead of anger. I don't know, sorry, put it that way.
The reason I mention this is because psychologists and psychiatrists...
You see it coming, you can feel it, and you know how to deal with it. We know how to deal with it after it happens. Awareness is to see it arise and deal with it, and soften it down as it happens.
You are saying that we will really know how to deal with it. Now we have to, now is another way of doing it. It really will happen.
So do it now, you will see it for yourself. What an extraordinary thing this is. Not because I say, what I say is no important, but...
It's inherent in our whole body, you were saying, our whole total organism.
Yes, obviously, a man who is extremely energetic is not angry. A man who's got this sense of complete harm, complete security, what the hell, sorry.
Is it true that Does love always flow out of this full awareness?
No. So, do you think a flower that's full of perfume saying this is love?
I don't mean the idea of love.
I'm saying a flower. There it is. It's got so much perfume, lovely and so tender. I had to talk. I mean, intellect says love must be personal, impersonal, godly, noble, fine, this, that, and make a nice mess of it. I mean, this whole Catholic world is now in revolution because it has accepted that in the service of God you must be a celibate.
Or pretend to be. Or seem to be.
I mean, celibate, don't actually sleep with a woman, but bottle it inside yourself, but don't do it outwardly. And also it's the same in India, same in Asia. They boil, burn, destroy themselves inwardly, but outwardly Jesus and Buddha and all the rest of it. So we are saying, seeing all this phenomenon, a harmonious life is only possible in the observation of the fact, the event, and looking at it, and nothing else. How you look matters, not what you look at. I don't know. If there is a distance between the observer and the observed, then it's finished. Yep.
If there is an observer.
If there is an observer. The flower with perfume doesn't say, this is love, this is beauty, I am full of this, I am full of that. It is that.
So the phrase that you mentioned, the distance between the observer and the observed, is there another way of putting that phrase, distance? Is there another way of looking at that?
Another way of looking at self is to look at it without the observer. To look at it so that there is only the thing that is observed, not the interpretation of what is observed. And when you do look at the fragments, intellect and all the rest of it, as the non-observer, are there fragments? I don't know if you follow, sir? The observer is a fragment. The observer observes the fragments, the three fragments. And so he becomes the separate entity, an outsider who is looking in. But the observer is the thing that he observes. He may put himself outside, but he is part of those three. So the observer is the observed, and therefore no distance. And can the mind look that way without identifying, say, I am the whole, I am this. So look, another extraordinary thing takes place. When you look, to look as we generally do, as the observer and the observed, that has created its own discipline. Its own disorder. But to look without the observer requires and discipline in the sense of tremendous learning to look.
Learning in looking.
Learning in looking.
Not in order to.
No.
Doesn't that take time?
No, sir.
Two are the same.
No, sir, it doesn't take time. Look, sir, look at those mountains without the observer. Just look, sir, and see what takes place. I wish you were sitting here instead of me, you'd see it. So that's really quite, to look without the image. You follow, sir? That's what it means. To look at my wife, husband, the hills, the trees, the birds, the whole movement of this beauty without the image. Because the image is the observer. The image is the intellect. And you see how tight it is. How tight together it all is. So one has to take the whole of it or not at all. One say, well, I like a fragment of it, I'm going to use it. Then you're going to destroy the whole thing.
Could you say a few more words about this is sustained seriousness? For a while we can sustain it. So you brought up the question yourself, and I haven't heard you say anything about it, about sustained seriousness.
We have done this. A whole hour we have spent at it. If you spend a whole hour and a half at this, you will do it the rest of the time, naturally. Including going to the cinema.
This doesn't leave out playfulness, does it?
I hope not.
It all depends what you mean by playfulness. So that means enjoyment is something entirely different. Joy is entirely different from pleasure. No.
I think there's some kind of a connotation to the word seriousness that.
Of course. What time is it, sir?
12:30.
Oh, I think we've got to stop, don't you?